Cheek's phone rang at 3 a.m. Abua time. It was Mr. Danjuma, and he was crying. "Sir, you need to come home immediately. Master Elijah is in the hospital." "What happened?" Cheek was already getting dressed. "Kidney failure, sir. He needed surgery." "Surgery? Where was the nanny? How could you let this happen?" "Sir, the nanny saved his life. Miss Adana donated one of her kidneys to Master Elijah." Cheek stopped moving. "She what?" "She gave him her kidney, sir. The doctors said he would have died without it. She's been in surgery for 6 hours." The fastest flight from Abuja to Lagos had never felt so slow. Cheek burst into the hospital to find Elijah awake and alert in his bed, surrounded by get-well balloons that the domestic staff had brought. "Daddy!" Elijah's face lit up despite his obvious tiredness. "You came back." "Of course I came back." "How are you feeling, son?" "Much better. Auntie Ada saved my life. She gave me one of her kidneys because she loves me so much. The doctor said she was very brave." "Where is she now?" "Still sleeping in the room next door." "She's been sleeping for a whole day. The nurses said the surgery was very hard for her." Cheek went to the recovery room where Adana lay sleeping, looking pale but peaceful. He sat in the chair beside her bed and studied her face. Why did she look so familiar? "She's an angel," whispered a nurse who was checking Adana's vitals. "That little boy isn't even her child, but she didn't hesitate for 1 second to save him." "What do you mean?" "Well, usually only family members are willing to donate organs. The bond between them is so strong, you'd think she was his real mother." The nurse's words echoed in Chika's head long after she left. "Auntie Ada, the doctor said you have to stay with us for 6 weeks while you get better," Elijah announced the day they returned from the hospital. "That means we can be together every single day." "Are you happy about that?" Adana asked, still weak but smiling. "It's the best thing that ever happened to me." "Well, except for when you saved my life. That was the actual best thing." "Elijah, you don't have to keep thanking me." "But I want to. You're my hero, and my best friend, and my favorite person in the whole world." Cheek, who was watching this exchange from the doorway, felt something tug at his heart. The bond between his son and this woman was unlike anything he had ever seen. "Daddy," Elijah spotted him, "did you know that Auntie Ada knows how to speak 3 languages? And she can sing really beautiful songs? And she makes the best chin-chin in Lagos?" "Is that so?" "Yes. And she tells the most amazing bedtime stories. Not from books, from her head. Yesterday she told me about a brave little prince who could talk to animals." "Sounds like Auntie Ada is very special," Cheek said, his eyes meeting Adana's. "She is." "Daddy, I have a very important question." "What is it now, son?" "Can we keep her forever? Not just as my nanny, but as our family?" Adana blushed. "Elijah, you can't just ask." "Why not?" "Daddy's not married anymore. You're not married. You love me, I love you, and I think Daddy likes you too because he keeps staring at you with googly eyes." "Googly eyes?" Cheek laughed despite himself. "Yes. Like this," Elijah demonstrated by opening his eyes very wide and making an exaggerated, dreamy expression. Both adults burst into laughter. "Okay, that's enough matchmaking for one day," Adana said, still giggling. "How about we focus on your homework?" "Fine. But I'm not giving up on this idea." That evening, Cheek called his investigator again with growing certainty that something extraordinary was happening under his roof. "Tunda, I need you to dig deeper into Adana Okonkwo's background. Something isn't adding up." "What specifically do you want to know, sir?" "Everything. Where she went to school, who her friends were, what party she attended the night before my wedding, where exactly she gave birth in America, and why she came back to Nigeria." "This will take some time, sir." "Take all the time you need. Money is no object." 2 weeks later, Tunde called with information that made Chiki's hands shake. "Sir, I found something very disturbing. Miss Okonkwo was indeed at your bachelor party. She was with a friend named Grace Okoro. But more importantly, I've been investigating the hospital in Houston." "What about it?" "There are irregularities in the records from the day your son was born. Miss Okonkwo's baby was recorded as stillborn. But there's no death certificate, no burial records, nothing. What are you saying? I'm saying I think her baby was stolen and given to someone else. Someone who needed a baby and had the money to make it happen. Cheek felt sick. Find out more. Everything you can. Sir, there's one more thing. I managed to get a photo of Miss Okonkwo from her university graduation. I'm sending it to your phone now. Cheek opened the message and stared at the photo. Even with different hair and formal graduation attire, there was no doubt it was her. The beautiful young woman from the hotel room. The virgin whose innocence he had taken and then crushed with his cruel words. The woman who had just saved his son's life. The woman his son wanted as a mother. The woman who might actually be his son's mother. Cheeky couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't focus on anything except the growing certainty that the universe had played the most elaborate joke in history. He arranged for DNA samples to be taken secretly. A glass Adana had used, hair from Elijah's brush, and his own saliva sample. Then he waited. The results came back 3 days later. Cheek stared at the papers in his hands, reading the words over and over again. Paternity test results. Probability of paternity, 99.97 perfect. Subject is the biological father of the child. Maternity test results. Probability of maternity, 99.98%. Subject is the biological mother of the child. Cheeky sat in his study and wept openly. For the first time since he was a child, he cried without shame. His son, their son, had been living under the same roof as his biological mother for months, and neither of them knew it. Adana had unknowingly saved the life of her own child, the child she thought was dead, the child she mourned for 5 years. And he was the man who had destroyed her innocence and called her horrible names on what should have been the happiest day of his life. Miss Adana, Cheek said the next evening, finding her in the garden where she was reading to Elijah under the big mango tree. I need to speak with you privately, in my study. Please. Adana followed him, wondering if she was about to be fired. Had she overstepped somehow? Been too familiar with Elijah? In the study, Cheeky closed the door and turned to face her. His expression was unreadable. I need to ask you something, and I need you to tell me the truth. Of course, sir. 5 years ago, did you attend a graduation party at a mansion in Victoria Island? Adana's face went pale. Why are you asking me that? Please, just answer the question. Yes, she whispered. Yes, I did. And that night, did something happen to you? Something you couldn't explain? Adana's legs felt weak. She sank into the chair across from his desk. How do you know about that? Instead of answering, Cheek opened a file on his desk and pulled out photographs. DNA test results, hospital records, documentation that painted a picture so impossible she couldn't process it. Your son didn't die, Adana, he said gently. He was stolen from you and given to my ex-wife, who couldn't have children of her own. What are you saying? I'm saying that Elijah is your biological son. And Cheek's voice broke. I am the man who took your virginity that night. Adana stared at him, really looked at him for the first time. The strong jaw, the kind eyes that could turn hard when angry, the way he held himself. Oh my God, she breathed. You're him. You're the man who called me those terrible names and threw money at me. Yes, you're telling me that Elijah, my baby, he's been alive all this time? Yes. Adana stood up slowly, walked to the window, and then let out a scream that could probably be heard in Abuja. My baby was alive and you people stole him from me. Upstairs, Elijah heard the scream and came running. Auntie Ada, are you hurt? Daddy, what did you do to Auntie Ada? Adana was sobbing now, 5 years of grief pouring out of her like a broken dam. My baby was alive. Auntie Ada, please don't cry, Elijah said, running to hug her. Whatever is wrong, we can fix it together. Through her tears, Adana looked down at this precious child, her child, who was trying to comfort her. Elijah, she said softly, how would you feel if I told you that I was your first mummy, the one who went away when you were a baby? Elijah's eyes grew wide. Really? You're my real mummy? Yes, sweetheart. I'm your real mummy. Yahoo! Elijah shouted, jumping up and down. I knew it! I knew it! I told everyone you felt like my real mummy. He threw his arms around her neck. This is the best day of my whole life. Wait until I tell my friends at school. I have the most beautiful mummy in the world. You need to go to your parents, Cheek said quietly after Elijah had finally been convinced to go to school, despite wanting to stay home and celebrate having found his real mummy. I never want to see them again, Adana replied firmly. They took my child from me. They let me grieve for 5 years for a baby who was alive. They were trying to protect you. Protect me? They destroyed me. Do you know what it's like to think your child is dead? To blame yourself every single day? No, I don't. But I know what it's like to be a parent who makes terrible decisions thinking they're doing the right thing. Adana looked at him sharply. Like marrying someone else on the same day you got me pregnant? I panicked. I was young and scared, and I made the worst decision of my life. Not just marrying Folek, but the way I treated you that morning. I called you names that no woman should ever be called. You threw money at me like I was a prostitute. I know, and I've regretted it every single day since then. Even before I knew who you were, I couldn't forget the look on your face. They sat in silence for a moment. We need to tell our parents the truth, Chiki said finally. Your mother's going to have a heart attack, Adana replied. Probably, but Elijah deserves to know his grandparents. All of them. Chief Mrs. Okafor arrived at the mansion within an hour of Cheek's phone call, wearing her most expensive Aso Oke and her most intimidating expression. Where is this woman who claims to be my grandson's mother? She demanded, marching into the living room like a general inspecting troops. Mama, please, be respectful. Respectful? Some girl shows up claiming to be Elijah's mother, and you want me to be respectful? Grandmama! Elijah ran into the room, still wearing his school uniform. Come and meet my real mummy. Your what now? My real mummy? Her name is Auntie Ada, but now I can call her Mummy. Isn't that the best thing ever? Chief Mrs. Okafor looked at Adana, who stood gracefully and extended her hand. Good afternoon, Ma. I'm Adana Okonkwo. Okonkwo? Chief Mrs. Okafor's eyebrows shot up. From which Okonkwo family? My father is Chief Emeka Okonkwo. He owns Okonkwo Industries. Emeka Okonkwo is your father? The older woman's entire demeanor changed. I know your father very well. We did business together many years ago. Yes, Ma. But how are you Elijah's mother? This doesn't make sense. Chiki explained everything. The party, the mysterious cocktails, the hospital conspiracy, the DNA tests. Chief Mrs. Okafor listened in stunned silence, occasionally looking at Elijah, who was playing with his toy cars and humming happily, completely oblivious to the adult drama. So you're telling me, she said slowly, that my grandson's real parents found each other by accident, and the woman who saved his life is actually his biological mother? Yes, Mama. And you, my son, are the father who abandoned her pregnant and alone? I didn't know she was pregnant. That's not the point. Chief Mrs. Okafor stood up. You treated this woman terribly. What kind of man did I raise? Grandmama, why are you shouting at Daddy? Elijah looked up from his cars. He didn't do anything wrong today. Come here, my grandson, Chief Mrs. Okafor said, her voice immediately softening. Elijah climbed onto her lap. Grandmama, isn't it wonderful? I found my real mummy, and she's the best mummy in the whole world. She can make vegetables taste like candy, and she saved my life and everything. Yes, my dear, it's very wonderful. And now Daddy and Mummy can get married and we can all live together like a real family. The three adults exchanged glances over his head. Elijah, Adana said gently, it's not that simple. Why not? You love me, I love you, Daddy loves me, and I think Daddy loves you too because he keeps looking at you like you're ice cream. Ice cream? Cheek asked. Yes. Like you want to eat her up, but you're being polite about it. Chief Mrs. Okafor burst into laughter despite herself. This child has no filter. Meanwhile, Adana had finally worked up the courage to visit her parents. She stood outside their house in Ikoyi, holding the DNA test results and photos of Elijah. Her mother opened the door and immediately started crying. Adana! My daughter, we've missed you so much. Mama. Adana's voice was cold. Come in, come in. Your father will be so happy to see you." In the living room, Chief Emeka Okonkwo stood up from his chair, his expression cautious. "Papa," Adana said simply, "my daughter, you look well. I have something to tell you both, and I want you to listen carefully before you say anything." She told them everything, about finding Elijah, about the DNA tests, about discovering that their grandson was alive and had been living under a false identity. When she finished, the silence was deafening. "Our grandson is alive?" her mother whispered. "Yes, and he's been asking about his grandparents." "We can see him?" her father asked, tears streaming down his face. "That depends. On what? On whether you can explain to me why you gave away my child without my consent and let me believe he was dead for 5 years." Chief Okonkwo sat down heavily. "We thought we were protecting you." "Protecting me? You were so young, so heartbroken. You didn't even know who the father was. We thought it would be better if you could start fresh, without the burden of a child to raise alone." "The burden?" Adana's voice was dangerously quiet. "That's not what I meant. You took away my choice. You took away my child. Do you know what these 5 years have been like for me?" "We're sorry," her mother sobbed. "We're so sorry. We made a terrible mistake. Sorry doesn't give me back 5 years with my son." "No," her father agreed quietly. "It doesn't. But perhaps we can try to make up for lost time." Adana studied their faces, her parents who had always been strict, but who had genuinely believed they were doing the right thing. "I will think about it," she said finally, "but first you need to meet your grandson." The meeting was arranged for Sunday afternoon. Elijah, who had been told he was going to meet his other grandparents, was practically vibrating with excitement. "Mummy, do you think they'll like me?" he asked as they drove to the Okonkwo house. "Mummy?" Adana's heart still skipped a beat every time he called her that. "They're going to love you, sweetheart." "How could they not?" "What if they think I'm too noisy?" "The last nanny said I was louder than a generator." "Well, the last nanny was clearly deaf," Cheek said from the driver's seat, making Elijah giggle. "Daddy, are you nervous too?" "A little bit." "Why?" "Because these are your mummy's parents, and I want them to like me." "Why wouldn't they like you? You're rich and handsome, and you take good care of me." "It's complicated, son. Adults always say things are complicated, but they're usually just scared." Adana and Chike exchanged glances. Sometimes his child was too wise for his own good. When they arrived at the house, Chief and Mrs. Okonkwo were waiting in the living room, dressed in their finest clothes and looking like they were about to meet visiting dignitaries. "Mummy, they look very serious," Elijah whispered loudly. "Should I use my best manners?" "Just be yourself, sweetheart." Elijah walked into the living room with the confidence of a child who had never been rejected by anyone who mattered. "Good afternoon, sir and ma," he said politely. "I'm Elijah Okafor. I'm very pleased to meet you." Mrs. Okonkwo burst into tears immediately. "Oh, he's so beautiful. He looks just like you did at his age, Adana." "Why is she crying?" Elijah whispered to his mother. "Did I say something wrong?" "No, sweetheart. She's crying because she's happy." "Adults are very confusing," Elijah observed. "When I'm happy, I laugh or jump up and down. I don't leak water from my eyes." Chief Okonkwo couldn't help but chuckle. "Come here, young man." Elijah approached cautiously. "Are you angry with me for something?" "No, my boy. I'm angry with myself." "Why?" "Because I missed the first 5 years of your life." "Oh, that's okay. We can make up for it now. Do you want to see my toy car collection? I have 47 cars and I know all their names." "I would love that." As Elijah dragged his grandfather away to see his toys, Mrs. Okonkwo turned to Adana. "My daughter, can you ever forgive us?" "I'm working on it, Mama." "And this young man," she looked at Chika, "is he treating you well?" "He's been very kind since we discovered the truth." "Good. Because if he hurts you again, I will personally deal with him." Cheek looked appropriately terrified. 3 months later, life had settled into a beautiful routine. Adana had officially moved into the mansion, not as a nanny, but as Elijah's mother. The three of them had become an unlikely family, and even the domestic staff had stopped taking bets on when she would leave. "Daddy," Elijah said one evening as they watched a movie together, "when are you going to marry Mummy?" Jake nearly choked on his popcorn. "Excuse me, when are you going to marry Mummy? You love her, she loves you, I love both of you. It makes perfect sense." "Elijah," Adana said, "grown-up relationships are more complicated than that." "Why?" "You're both single. You both live in the same house. You both love me. You make each other laugh. What else do you need?" "Well," Cheek said thoughtfully, "there's the small matter of whether your Mummy would even want to marry me." "Of course she would." "Right, Mummy?" Adana blushed furiously. "Elijah, you can't just—" "Actually," Cheek interrupted, standing up suddenly, "maybe he's right." "What?" "Maybe it is that simple." Cheek walked over to where Adana was sitting and got down on one knee. "Oh my God," Adana breathed. "Yes," Elijah shouted, jumping up and down on the sofa. "I knew this would happen." "Adana Okonkwo," Cheek said, pulling a ring box from his pocket. "5 years ago, I met you under the worst possible circumstances. I hurt you in ways I can never fully make up for, but somehow the universe gave us a second chance. Cheek, you've brought joy back into my son's life, our son's life. You've shown me what real love looks like, and you've made me want to be a better man." "Say yes, Mummy," Elijah yelled. "Say yes, or I'll never eat vegetables again." Adana laughed through her tears. "Well, we can't have that." "Is that a yes?" "That's a yes." Elijah launched himself at both of them, creating a group hug that knocked them all to the floor in a tangle of laughter and happy tears. "Wait," Elijah suddenly sat up. "Does this mean I can call you Daddy and Mummy instead of Daddy and Auntie Ada?" "Yes, son. And we'll all live together forever and ever. Forever and ever. And you'll give me a baby brother or sister?" "Elijah!" both parents exclaimed. "What?" "I'm just asking. I think I'd be an excellent big brother. I could teach them how to eat vegetables and how to make Daddy laugh when he's grumpy." Planning a wedding with a 5-year-old as the self-appointed wedding coordinator was an experience nobody could have prepared for. "Mummy, I think you should wear a dress with real diamonds," Elijah announced during breakfast one morning. "Real diamonds are very expensive, sweetheart. Daddy has lots of money, don't you, Daddy?" "That's not the point, son. And I think we should have a chocolate fountain at the reception, and a bouncy castle, and maybe some clowns." "Clowns?" Adana asked. "Yes, everyone loves clowns." "Actually, son, many people are afraid of clowns." "Well, those people have no sense of fun," Elijah declared. "Oh, and we should have fireworks, and maybe we can rent some elephants." "Elephants?" both parents said together. "For decoration, like in those movies about kings and queens." "Elijah, elephants are not decorations," Adana explained patiently. "Fine. Can we at least have horses?" "No horses. Camels? No camels. You people are very boring when it comes to animals." The actual wedding planning became a 3-way negotiation between Adana's desire for simplicity, Cheek's family's expectations for grandeur, and Elijah's increasingly creative suggestions. "What about peacocks?" Elijah suggested during a meeting with the wedding planner. "No, Elijah." "Parrots?" "No." "A really big cake shaped like a castle?" "Now that," said the wedding planner, "is actually doable." "Yes, I'm the best wedding planner ever." The one person they hadn't told about the wedding was Faux Lake, Cheek's ex-wife. She returned from London just 2 weeks before the wedding and requested to see Elijah. "I don't understand," she said, sitting in the living room and staring at Adana. "Who is this woman, and why is my son calling her Mummy?" "Faux Lake," Cheek said gently, "we need to talk." "Auntie Faux Lake." Elijah ran into the room. "Guess what? I found my real Mummy, and Daddy is going to marry her, and we're going to be a real family." "Your real Mummy?" Faux Lake's voice was faint. "Yes. Isn't that amazing? She was taking care of me, and we didn't even know we were really family, and she saved my life by giving me her kidney." Faux Lake looked at Adana with growing recognition and horror. You're the nanny." "I'm his mother," Adana said quietly but firmly. "That's impossible. I gave birth to Elijah. No, you didn't, Cheek said. And you know you didn't. The truth came out slowly, painfully. Folak's infertility, the arranged adoption, the conspiracy of silence that had kept a mother and child apart for 5 years. I loved him, Folak said through tears. I raised him as my own. And we're grateful for that, Adana said sincerely. You took care of my son when I couldn't, but now I need to be his mother. Can I still visit him? Auntie Folak, you can visit whenever you want, Elijah announced. You can come to the wedding too. Everyone I love should be at the wedding. Oh, sweetheart, Folak hugged him tight. You're the most forgiving little boy in the world. I'm not little. I'm almost 6. The wedding was held at the Civic Center in Victoria Island, the same venue where Cheek's first wedding had taken place. But this time, everything was different. Elijah, dressed in a tiny tuxedo that matched his father's, served as both ring bearer and master of ceremonies. Ladies and gentlemen, he announced to the congregation before the ceremony began, welcome to my parents' wedding. I helped plan everything, so if you don't like something, please don't tell me, because I'm very sensitive. The congregation burst into laughter. Also, I want everyone to know that my mummy is the most beautiful bride in the history of brides, and my daddy is very lucky that she said yes, because he was very mean to her once, but she forgave him because she's an angel. Elijah, Adana whispered from behind her bouquet, that's enough. Oh, and after the wedding, there will be cake shaped like a castle, and if anyone doesn't eat vegetables at dinner, they don't get any cake because those are the rules. Pastor Williams cleared his throat. Thank you, young Master Elijah. Shall we begin the ceremony? As Adana walked down the aisle in a stunning white gown that managed to be both elegant and modest, she looked out at the congregation filled with both their families, friends, and even Folak, who was crying happy tears in the third row. But her eyes were only for Chika, who was standing at the altar looking at her like she was the most precious thing in the world. You look beautiful, he whispered when she reached him. You clean up pretty well yourself, she whispered back. Daddy, you're supposed to wait until after the vows to talk to her, Elijah stage whispered loudly. Sorry, son. The ceremony was perfect except for Elijah's running commentary. That's my mummy. Daddy, don't cry. It's happy crying, right? I can't wait for the cake. Mummy looks like a princess. When Pastor Williams asked if anyone had objections to the marriage, Elijah jumped up. I have something to say. The congregation held its breath. I just want everyone to know that this is the best day of my life, and I love my parents very much, and I think they're going to be very happy together. Anything else? Pastor Williams asked with a smile. Yes. Can we hurry up with the kissing part so we can eat cake? 6 weeks later, on a beautiful beach in Zanzibar where they had gone for their honeymoon with Elijah, who had refused to stay with his grandparents, Adana had news for her new husband. Cheek, she said as they watched Elijah build an elaborate sandcastle, I have something to tell you. What is it, my love? I'm pregnant. Cheek's eyes widened. Really? Really? What? Elijah, who had somehow heard despite being 20 feet away, came running over covered in sand. Did you say pregnant? Like with a baby? Yes, little king. A baby brother or sister. Elijah started jumping up and down. This is the best news in the history of news. I'm going to be a big brother. I'm going to teach them everything. How to eat vegetables, how to build sand castles, how to make daddy laugh when he's working too much. Slow down, son, Chike laughed. The baby won't be here for several months. Months? That's too long. Can't we speed it up somehow? That's not how babies work, Elijah. Well, that's a terrible design flaw, Elijah said seriously. When I grow up and become an inventor, I'm going to fix that. You want to be an inventor? Adana asked. Yes. I'm going to invent toys that clean themselves, vegetables that taste like ice cream, and a machine that makes babies come faster. Those are excellent goals, Cheek said solemnly. I know. I'm very smart. Mummy says I get it from both my parents, so I'm double smart. 9 months later, baby Chioma Okafor entered the world surrounded by more love than any baby had a right to expect. Elijah, now 6 years old and even more opinionated than before, had appointed himself as her personal protector and entertainment committee. Mummy, why is baby Chioma so small? He asked, peering into her crib. Because all babies start small and grow bigger. Was I that small when I was born? Yes, you were. And you were there when I was born. Yes, I was there. Good. I don't like the idea of being born without my mummy there. That would be very lonely. Adana's eyes filled with tears, but they were happy tears now. Daddy, Elijah called out. Come look. Baby Kioma is trying to grab my finger. Cheek joined them by the crib, wrapping his arms around his wife and son. She's perfect. Of course she's perfect. She's my sister. I told her all about our family while she was still in Mummy's tummy. I explained about how Daddy used to be silly but got smarter when he met Mummy, and how Mummy is the best mummy in Nigeria, and how I'm the best big brother anyone could ask for. And what did she say? Adana asked with a smile. She kicked, which means she agreed with everything I said. How do you know that's what it meant? Because I'm very good at understanding baby language. It's one of my many talents. As they stood there, watching baby Kioma sleep peacefully, Elijah made an announcement. You know what I realized? What's that, son? Cheek asked. Sometimes the best things happen when you're not expecting them. Like how Mummy came to take care of me and turned out to be my real mummy. And how Daddy found his family by accident. And how I got the best parents in the world without even trying. You're absolutely right, Adana said, kissing the top of his head. I'm always right. It's another one of my many talents. Don't get too confident, little king, Cheek warned with a laugh. Too late. I'm already the most confident person in this family. Well, except for baby Kioma. She seems very confident too. Look at how peacefully she's sleeping. She knows she's got the best family ever. And as they stood there together, a family that had been torn apart by lies and brought back together by love, truth, and one very wise little boy. Adana realized that sometimes the most beautiful stories are the ones that begin with the worst possible circumstances. Mummy, Elijah said softly. Yes, sweetheart. Thank you for not giving up. For finding me and saving my life and making Daddy happy again. Thank you for making me a mummy, little king. You're welcome. Now, can we go have dinner? All this family bonding is making me very hungry. And with that, the Okafor family headed downstairs together, where their new life was waiting for them. A life full of laughter, love, and the occasional chaos that comes with raising the most opinionated 6-year-old in Lagos. The domestic staff had long since stopped betting on when things would return to normal. Normal, they had realized, was overrated anyway. Sir, Mr. Danjuma said to Chaik as he watched the family head to the dining room, if you don't mind me saying so, this house has never been happier. No, Mr. Danjuma, Cheek replied, watching his wife help their son wash his hands while baby Kioma gurgled contentedly in her high chair. I don't mind you saying so at all. And somewhere in heaven, Adana's grandmother smiled, knowing that love had indeed conquered all. Thank you for watching. What do you think of this story? Let me know of your thoughts in the comment section below. Until I bring another intriguing story your way again, bye for now.